Good morning, Alan Skinner here. Today I want to talk about Publius Cornelius Tacitus. He is a Roman historian who lived from about AD 56 to AD 120, best remembered as an annalistic historian of the Roman imperial era. Um, he wrote at length about the concepts of freedom and liberty in his Annals, and as well as two major monographs, Agricola and Germania. So in this presentation, I want to focus specifically on his concepts of freedom and liberty, using analysis from our readings and scholarly works. Tacitus opens his Annals by attributing the concept of Roman liberty um, to Consul Lucius Junius Brutus. He goes on to describe how the last Roman king was overthrown by Brutus and Collatinus, basically co-equal consuls, and with the support of the Roman Senate and also the army. So a power sharing arrangement was devised between the Senate, the two consuls, and popularly elected Roman magistrates. But it is described in Tacitus. Libertas was maintained through the balance of power, and in time, this arrangement proved insufficient. There weren't really checks and balances, to keep to prevent the rise of corruption and also the growth of lust for power among the Roman elites. So by 27, the Republic is pretty well reduced to essentially window dressing and concealing Augustus's seizure of power. After acknowledging a simple definition of Roman libertas as elusive, Thomas Strunk does an excellent job of delineating Tacitus's concepts that are associated with libertas. First, it meant that the Roman citizen was free from domination by a master. Secondly, libertas was commonly used to frame discussions of freedom within a political construct. In the Republic, through their free exercise of the vote, freemen had the ability to influence Roman politics through their magistrates. So with Augustus's seizure of power, Tacitus felt that Roman citizens had been reduced to servitium or servitude. Tacitus's monograph, the Agricola, was written around AD 98, and it discusses the conquest of Britain by Agricola, who is Tacitus's father-in-law. Throughout the work, what he does is he contrasts the virtues of Agricola with the corruption of Emperor Domitian. And there's a contrast between the life of Roman liberty, underpinned by virtuous behaviors, with the evil consequences felt by the Britons, who were unable to moderate their freedoms with discipline. And according to Herbert Benario, Tacitus blames the defeat of the Britons basically because their unbridled liberty. The chieftains were unable to submit to the strategic direction of Queen Boudica. So as a consequence, the Britons lose their freedom. And so Tacitus concludes tempering libertas with disciplina and ratio, or logic, were essential to the long-term maintenance of freedom. So we can also contrast Tacitus's conclusions with Bertrand de Jovenel's thoughts on the Roman system of liberty. De Jovenel first describes Rome's earliest laws acknowledge the autonomy or the freedom of the individual will. Then the autonomy of patrician Romans, however, was bounded by responsibility, ritual, and folkways. As a consequence, as the consequences of unbridled freedom could lead to slavery, decisions were not made lightly. Rituals concerning major life events were codified and scrupulously followed. And lastly, education and upbringing transmitted Roman values of discipline, philosophy, religion, and politics. So de Jovenel closes with a profound thought. The system of Roman liberty rested entirely on the assumption that men would use their liberty in a certain way. Eric Gruen's scholarship on Tacitus's Germania finds libertas as a theme that is woven throughout, with comparisons between German and Roman liberty. The Germans presented a paradox to Tacitus. When not at war, their German representative assemblies could drag on for days without reaching a decision, and German love of drink was only the most obvious example of their indiscipline. Yet Tacitus noticed how the Germans did have a clear hierarchy, social hierarchy from slaves to chieftains, and liberty carried different responsibilities depending on the level of social class. Um, Tacitus also connects the importance of virtus, which is valor, courage, and moderation, to the full exercise of libertas. More than courage on the battlefield, Tacitus explicitly links virtus to the German Chauci tribe, which preserved its liberty by carefully regulating society, avoiding wars and controlling vigilante justice and also excessive brutality. One additional factor, freedom, was articulated by Carl Richard, who noted how the Anglo-Saxon election of representatives was undergirded by allodial, free and clear ownership of land. So there's also an economic factor, at least as far as with German freedoms. The factor of land ownership, representative government, and freedom tempered with civic virtues and restraint found in German and Roman societies were passed along to Britain and later America as the foundation of Western liberty. So to briefly recap, Tacitus held that liberty meant the individual independence from domination by a master, while society liberty meant freed men had the ability to participate in the political process. Freedom meant individual autonomy, but liberty meant autonomy was exercised only within the bounds of common Roman virtues: sobriety, self-control, discipline, and reason. Now, Tacitus never actually fully defines libertas, which is best left to Florentinus, the 2nd century Roman jurist. Quote, liberty is the natural faculty of doing what is pleasing for each to do, unless it is prohibited by force or law. So, there's my presentation for the day. Thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoyed it.